Mountain News, first at 4, continues.
Kentucky leaders are working to raise awareness about the care for the state's eldest population. WYMT's Jeremy Toms was at the state capitol this morning, where leaders are commemorating Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
State leaders and advocates for Kentucky's seniors were joined by Governor Andy Beshear this morning to commemorate World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. They also took some time out to plant purple flags on the Capitol lawn to spread awareness about this issue. Mary Crowley Schmidt has devoted the past 38 years to caring for seniors in the Bluegrass region. She says people often think of child abuse, but not of elders who can be just as vulnerable.
It takes physical, financial, sexual, exploitation, many forms of abuse.
Crowley Schmidt notes that exploitation often comes from within their own family, but the most common referral is neglect of their own doing.
Self-neglect is the one area that we have seen our numbers continue to rise.
Officials say elders aren't likely to speak up, so every Kentuckian has a role in helping.
These people a lot of times don't have a voice of their own, so we have to be their voice.
Kentucky law requires you to report instances of elder abuse and neglect, so Crowley Schmidt urges people to say something if you see something, and know that Good Samaritan laws will protect you if your claim can't be substantiated. In Frankfort, Jeremy Toms, WKYT.
Officials say you can call the state's abuse hotline to report elder abuse or neglect. We have that number there at the bottom of your screen right now. You can also reach out to your local law enforcement agencies. The Perry County Fair is now underway. The fair is open to all ages. There's live music with several activities and attractions to offer. Wanda Brown is the Perry County Fair secretary and says this is a way to offer free activities to the community.
The Perry County Fair, it was the brainchild of our judge executive, Scott Alexander, and his whole idea was to bring a free county fair event to Perry County.
The Perry County Fair is held at the Perry County Park and continues through Saturday night. It just got underway about 30 minutes ago. Coming up at 6, find out about other festivals and fairs in the region this weekend. The Mountain Parkway will soon be expanding even more in the coming years. Governor Andy Beshear's team says he's looking for bids to continue work on the Magoffin-Floyd section of the Mountain Parkway. That is a 13-mile stretch of road between Syersville and Prestonsburg. Construction began on the parkway all the way back in 2015, but teams will begin working on that Magoffin-Floyd section in late 2023. We'll have more about the Mountain Parkway expansion tonight at 6. Floyd Central High School played host to the Pritchard Committee's 2023 Groundswell Summit today, inviting educators and others to discuss challenges and opportunities in education. With representatives from more than 25 Kentucky school districts in attendance, the event put a spotlight on some of the work going on in schools throughout the Commonwealth.
We look for greater planting all across Kentucky. That's what Groundswell is, of really great ideas driven by local communities and local citizens.
The event was all about partnerships and planting progress. Hear more about the summit tonight at 6.
Well, not a bad feeling day out there today. Plenty of sunshine, temperatures in the middle and upper 70s and even low 80s out there. But we're also welcoming back another perhaps unwelcome visitor, and I'm not talking about showers and storms. Here's the view from London Corbin Airport, where we still sit in the low 80s, but you notice that hazy look to things. And we look on pinpoint Doppler here in a second. You're not going to see much, but what we are seeing, wildfire smoke. And it's back. It's more thick across places like Cleveland, Ohio, Erie, Pennsylvania, but we're seeing some of that work into the region as we head through the rest of this evening, so just be aware of that. So if you're sneezing, coughing a little more, that's probably the reason why. Upper 70s, low to mid 80s. Look at Monticello coming in at 86 right now. Warm out there near the lake. Not a bad lake day, especially when the nearest lightning strike is, a couple hundred miles to your east in portions of southwest Virginia. Everything in motion. You see these are developing and moving away. So we're actually in pretty good shape through the evening hours. Maybe you want to fire up the grill out there. Not looking too bad. Temperatures remaining in the low 80s. Looking pretty nice weather-wise. Details, though, on when we could see a return to perhaps some of those downpours in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Coastal cities around the world are sinking. It is partially a natural process, but some researchers say humans may be to blame for making the problem worse. That in turn could lead to areas becoming more prone to issues like flooding during severe weather events. CBS's Jared Hill has more from New York, where a study looks specifically at how much the nation's largest city is pushing itself down into the sea.
The very buildings that make New York City's skyline so iconic are also making it sink. That's according to a recent study by the U.S. Geological Survey. Scientists look at the Big Apple and its more than 1 million buildings that equal an estimated 1.7 trillion tons.
We found areas where there was greater than the average by a significant amount, so as high as 4.5 millimeters per year of subsidence in certain spots.
Subsidence is the geological term for sinking. Glaciers from the Ice Age are partially to blame, and yeah, so are the buildings. But Tom Parsons, the study's lead author, says it's also about where we're putting that weight.
There's a lot of places where there's been artificial fill placed in New York City to sort of expand the land areas. And so those places where they kind of just dump dirt in there, it hasn't really had a chance to consolidate. Those places seem to be sinking much faster.
Experts say one reason this very slow sinking is such a pressing concern is because the water around New York City is rising more quickly, possibly 8 to 30 inches, according to one study by the 2050s.
This is yet another factor that's leading to increased risk of impact from climate extremes and climate change.
Climate scientists say the data isn't cause for immediate panic, but instead immediate planning.
One of the next steps, focusing specifically on the communities that are disproportionately impacted by climate change.
And New York City isn't alone. A University of Rhode Island study last year looked at 99 coastal cities around the world and found the vast majority are sinking faster than the sea levels are rising. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
A recent United Nations report estimates that by 2050, 2 out of every 3 people worldwide are likely to be living in cities or other urban centers. Some solutions for the sinking that scientists point to include barriers in water to combat rising tides and making sure new buildings are constructed on top of more firm bedrock. Usually people who race through city streets get speeding tickets. On July 4th weekend in Chicago, they might get trophies instead. NASCAR is holding its first ever street race in the city. As John Garcia reports, that has some community leaders feeling a little nervous.
It is a first for Chicago and for NASCAR. The first street race through downtown along Chicago's lakefront. And with any first-time event, there is uncertainty among some city council members.
We don't know what to expect. We have full confidence it's going to work, but it's the first time doing this.
Some council members say they have few details about the race because former Mayor Lori Lightfoot's administration failed to share that information. Race officials are at the City Council's committee meeting today trying to catch them up.
We've worked really hard over the last 10 months to have as many conversations as possible, to be as transparent as we can with the planning.
Some City Council members asking questions about the number of police and traffic aides needed for the race. Chicago police already planning to cancel days off for the busy holiday. Among the many events going on in the city that weekend, also concerts and baseball games.
What we're going to see is not going to be perfect.
Some community members, however, say regardless of how the race comes off, it's a bad idea for Chicago to have race cars on city streets. Members of the Safe Streets for All coalition say they'd rather not see the race happen at all.
We think that it sends the wrong message to drivers that our streets are a place to race through when we need to be slowing people down. The reality is speed kills.
The race is scheduled for July 1st and 2nd. In Green Bay, Wisconsin, a worker apparently became trapped on a construction site at Lambeau Field this morning. First responders say it happened on the north end of the stadium. They've not confirmed if the man was an employee of the construction company or a contractor. Lambeau Field is the home stadium of the Green Bay Packers.
At approximately 10 a.m., we were dispatched along with Green Bay Police Department for a report of a man trapped in this building. Upon arrival, we did a brief extrication. We were able to transport a person who is currently in critical condition to a local hospital.
Officials from the construction company also say their main concern is for the worker, the worker's family, and the other construction workers on the scene.